Hello, happy Saturday. Welcome to Stampin' Create with Beth. I'm Beth Roy, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So I'm just gonna bring up my video and wait a few seconds here. So if you come in, say good morning or hi. And if you're new to hanging out, let us know where you're watching from. Also, if you watch the replay, let me know you watched. Okay, so today it is storming, so I may have some internet interruptions, but hopefully not. So we'll just wait a few minutes. And then we are going to jump in. I'm going to talk about watercoloring with using your ink pads. So good morning, good morning. Good morning, Joan. Thank you for that love. So real quick, while we're waiting on some others to join us this morning, reminder, Paper Pumpkin has moved over to the StampinUp.com website. So it's now in my online store. So when you log into your account, you have to claim your subscription. Now, the only subscription you can claim is any email. So you could have had more than one email with Paper Pumpkin that was active at the time of the switch. So if you didn't have an active one, you canceled. If you had skipped, that's still active. But if you had canceled your account, I had 3 and I only had 1 that was active, and that's the only one I could claim. So you can always start a new subscription with your email, and you can have several different emails. You can have several different subscriptions. But now they're over on the main store site. So if you are one of my customers and you haven't claimed your account or your subscription yet, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for, please do so, because otherwise you will not appear in my customers. So if you are getting Paper Pumpkin and you're my Paper Pumpkin customer, please claim that subscription. We were told in our training on it as well that you could use different demonstrators. So if you have more than one subscription and you want it to be credited to different demonstrators, you can even do that. So that's a new thing, and you can manage them all right there in your Stampin' Up! Account. So good morning, Maggie. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Christy. Thanks for joining me. Joan, it is very gloomy here. We have storm alerts for all day. It's been storming all morning. I've been up since very early. It was storming. So I hope everyone is safe in the path of this. I heard yesterday there were all kinds of things going on with this storm. So it's now hitting us here in Ohio, and it sounds like it's pretty severe. So it is gloomy looking outside my window. Luckily my studio's in the basement, so if it gets really crazy, I could lose internet. I don't know what time it's supposed to hit. It may have already passed. I really wasn't paying attention. I've been down in my room. So you may hear my family come down too if it gets real windy and they want to hang out in the basement. So all right. So the Paper Pumpkin. This is the April kit. It has that alcohol ink look. We have had a Paper Pumpkin like this in the past. The colors look very bright and pretty. Now they tell us the spot. So the spot for this one's Berry Burst. And let me see if it says, I don't think it says what kind of cards. It just says 9 cards. So if that appeals to you, you'll want to subscribe now. You have until April 10th to reserve the April box. The 10th is always the cutoff to get that month's box. May is definitely right up my alley. You know I love mountains. It is a Father's Day with layered mountain landscapes. And it says it has vellum pieces for layering and sentiments tailored to men. So you know I'm always ready to collect those kind of things. And I love using the paper pumpkin stamps. They're a great size. So that's the May box. You subscribe by May 10th. And then the June box has a new in color. So if you've been watching any of the demonstrators that got to go to Onstage this weekend, you'll know that we get 5 new colors in May, and we have 5 colors retiring. So the Moody Mauve, Boho Blue, Copper Clay, Wild Wheat, and Pebbled Path are retiring in May. And those are some of my favorite colors. I love all the colors. I don't know. So I'm going to miss those, but I'm always excited for new ones too. So we have 5 new colors coming, and one of the new in colors is part of the June Full of Charm box. And this just looks gorgeous. I can't wait. Because it says it coordinates with the Floral Charm Suite. So I can't see it, the catalog until Monday. Demonstrators can see the digital catalog Monday afternoon. All the other demonstrators that are on stage already have their catalogs, so they already know what this is, but I'm pretty excited about this. I hope this is going to be an image that we can get because I love it. So you can skip or cancel anytime when you subscribe. It is a surprise. So these are hints. They tell us the colors. They tell us the ink spot we're going to get, and if it coordinates, or some little tidbits. Something new that they started doing this year was the quarterly die set, or actually, I guess it started last year. So this die set, you can add on. It is a separate order from your paper pumpkin. You can buy this, and there's something that coordinates with each kit. So this is available for the quarter, so April, May, June. And this coordinates with this stamp set. The flower and the leaf go with this one, and the word hugs goes with this. So just so you know, in case you want to jump in and try this out. Okay. Good morning, Linda. Thanks for joining us. Oh, Maggie, I do too. That is like number 1 on my list. So we have, and I've heard it described as a blue-gray. So obviously I've not seen these colors in person. I've just seen them online, which is a computer screen. So sometimes I feel like it can be distorted a little bit. We have a light blue coming. That's going to be on my list. We have a new orange coming, a yellow, and a returning color that we had many, many years ago. So Strawberry Slush, which if you looked at the March online exclusives, you saw that color as part of one of our papers. So they've given us little hints before we knew, and if you're hanging about, you pick up on those pretty quick. So yeah, I love the new in colors. I always mourn the ones leaving because I will lose my favorites like Boho Blue. I use that so often, and I love Pebbled Path. It's a wonderful gray. So stock up now if you want. Some of the refills are out of stock and they're coming back. But if you haven't grabbed an ink and you want it, grab the ink, grab the refill. If you want the paper, grab it because it will go quick. People that love these colors will buy them and they'll be gone. And they're not going to get replenished because they're retiring. So yeah, I just love the colors. So, but I'm always excited about new ones too. So, you guys ready to jump in? We've chatted for long enough, right? Let's create. So, if I haven't said good morning to you, good morning. Oh, I love it. Thanks everyone for joining me this morning. So good morning, Jan. How are you? Hopefully you are safe out there. I know the storms rolled through yesterday. We're getting them today, all day. So, okay, so I want to talk about watercoloring with our ink pads. So I'm just pulling out Peach Pie here, and I'm going to show you how you can use this ink to watercolor on your projects. Now, I am going to be using watercolor paper. I did check the Stampin' Up. The Stampin' Up paper is in stock. So here's the Stampin' Up Fluid 100. It is smoother. This is a paper I just have on hand. My kids loved watercoloring, so I have lots of different brands of watercolor paper. So use what you have. But I do like the Stampin' Up. Let me open this pack. I do like the Stampin' Up paper. It comes in 5x7, and watercolor paper is more expensive. It is a thicker paper. The way it works with the water is different, and it's very textured. So it's good quality is key here. So you get 10 sheets. I believe it's $9. So that's not too bad. And it is 5x7. So this is the difference. I don't know if you guys can see. So the Stampin' Up Fluid 100 it's very soft and smooth. And this is one, and it's a good brand. It's just sold at a craft store, but it's more textured. So it's really going to be your preference. I like both. I do. I like both. So use what you got. And if you don't and you want to try this, you can grab the Fluid 100 from my store. Oh, good, Jan. I'm glad to hear that. So I've picked a couple colors, as you can see, and I picked a large image. I like this Layers of Beauty flower collage here. It's one large image, and I just love it because it fills the page. So a lot of times when I watercolor, I don't want a small image because I want it to fill my card front. So this is what I chose. We have other things you can choose from. Grab any sets you like. You could do the people sets. You could do anything that you would normally color. The other thing that I want to mention is the water painters that we used to sell are gone. The company that we bought those from, they do not make them any longer. So those are sold out. They're gone. They're not in the store. If you have them, still use them. I love them because the barrel, the tube, and I don't know if other places sell them because I've only had Stampin' Up, but the barrels here held water, so it was easy to just kind of squeeze a little water and keep going. But that's okay. I pulled in my paintbrushes. I have just some paintbrushes from a craft store, nothing special. They're not super expensive, and I have a cup of water. So you can do that as well, whatever you have. What else? I am going to be stamping. I stamped this in basic gray, but as you can see on this flower, these inks are water-based. So when we start watercoloring with them, if you stamped your outline in any of these, it could run, it could blend, and if you're using yellows and oranges, that might not be good. So I brought our 3 grays over. I used basic gray, but I think I'm going to stamp in a lighter gray. So you can use Smoky Slate or Gray Granite, and you can also stamp off first and make it really light so it's more like a no-line watercoloring. If you do not want your line to move, you'll need to pick one of the Stays-On inks. This is a permanent solvent ink, so it will not move with water. Okay, and we have Saddle Brown and we have Jet Black. I will tell you, if you use the Stays-On ink, you have to use the Stays-On cleaner. it does not come off with the Stampin' Mist. So I try not to use that ink. It's also not very good for your photopolymer stamps. It can be very hard on the material if it's not cleaned off all the way. And if anything's left on it, it could deteriorate the material. So a lot of people just do not use it with their photopolymers, but this is photopolymer and I want this image. So I'm just going to steer clear and take my chances with our regular inks. Okay, so you do what you feel is best. You can also stamp this image and use embossing powder. So you could stamp it in Versamark and use embossing powder and emboss it, but these lines will be, you know, thick and raised. So it's completely up to you if you want to do it that way. And maybe, I don't have my embossing stuff out, but maybe another time I will show that. So raise your hands in the comment if you'd like to see the image embossed and then watercolored, so that, you know, maybe I can make a short video on how to do that later on. So what do you guys think? Who has watercolored with the ink pads before? And some of you, if you've been with me for a while, you might have seen me do this already. I just want to show you another way to use your supplies. So, y'all still with me? You would like to see it? All right. I will do that. I will probably just make a short video that's not live and post it for you guys to view at a time that's convenient for you. So let's get to colors really quick. Oh, thank you for that, love. Appreciate that. Let's get to colors really quick. So I stamped my outline with the darkest basic gray, but I'm thinking I want to try either Smoky Slate or Gray Granite. So I'm going to pick a lighter color. That way, if it starts blending, oh well, right? And if you want no line, you want it to be very, very light so that when you blend out that line, it goes away. But we're going to choose a color combo. Are you guys ready? Give me some hearts if you're ready to start choosing. And I'm going to take a little coffee break here. Lots of coffee today. All right. So let me show you. I have, as a combo, and this is what I started using over here. I was just kind of playing. I was thinking orange flowers. Okay, thank you, thank you, thank you. Orange flowers and my teals. So these would be the leaves. This would be the background around my flowers. I want to create a nice, pretty watercolor background. So I used some pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon on my leaves. And this is peach pie, pumpkin pie, and a little Cajun craze. So the colors look really different when we start watercoloring them. So these three colors are going to stay the same. Okay, so there's number one. Okay, color number one, combo number one. And here's number two. Now, I haven't watercolored. I didn't do any watercolors with this one yet. Oops. Here's number two. Now, this one you can barely see. This is Petal Pink. The fluorescents have washed out my label. But you can see Petal Pink. Let me see if I got a piece of Petal Pink paper. Calypso Coral with our teals. So I love oranges with the teals. Here's the Petal Pink. So this is the Petal Pink color. That's what our paper looks like. And my label has just gone away. So this will be number 2. Number 2 will be the Petal Pink, the Calypso Coral. This is a peachy pink, Calypso Coral, and the teals. So number 1 has the oranges. Number 2 has the corals. And I love them all. So but I thought I would just play. I truly believe that if you're starting to collect inks, you should pick the colors that you love, that you really want to use. And it took me, probably 5 years. I've been a demonstrator for 9 years. Probably took me 5 years to get most of the colors or all the colors. So, you know, it's a big leap to collect every color, and you're not going to necessarily love every color. So if you don't, I suggest maybe just buying the marker pack. The Stampin' Right markers are the same ink that's in our ink pads. And then, you know, just buying the colors you love. So I use the colors I love the most. And that's my advice to you as well. I see a lot of 2s. Linda, I love all these colors. Honestly, I really like orange flowers. If you've seen some of my blends work and some of my things, I typically go toward the orange. Obviously, I love blues. I love blue and orange. They're complementary. And orange and teal are very complementary colors. So these just feel appealing to my eye. And I don't know, I started using that combo. And one of my favorites is the Calypso Coral. It is a very orangey pink color, and I just love it. So I really love that one with the teals or with the blues, and I use it quite often. It's not that I hate any colors. I just, my preference is towards the blue, teals, and those orange, warmer orange tones. So, Maggie, you only own 1 orange. Yeah, I'm not going to say I use it all the time. Pumpkin pie might be my least used color, right along with the yellows. But it does come in handy when you're trying to have a range of colors. So like I said, if you're a collector, and it took me many years to kind of dive in and really buy a ton of the colors, I always collected the markers first, because the markers can ink the red rubber stamps. You can also watercolor with them. I'm going to show you how I'm going to lift the ink off the pad, and you could do that with your markers as well. Or you can just buy the re-inker if you're just wanting to watercolor with it. So, and we have those uninked spots that we sell, so you could make little ink pads. That's a cost-effective way of doing it if you want to explore some colors that you don't think you would use as much. Oh, you don't like Petal Pink. So you like the petal, you don't like the Petal Pink ink, but you like the cardstock. Yeah, it does look different. It looks a little different. And these colors are going to look a little bit different when we actually watercolor. And I'm going to show you some of that. I agree, Linda. You know, when I first started stamping, I had a little tiny cabinet that held all my things, and I only owned neutral ink, unless it came in a paper pumpkin. I did not own, other than the Stampin' Right markers, any other ink pads. So you can ask many of my friends that when I started this journey, I thought, oh my gosh, I don't even have the inks. But that's okay, right? That is okay. Perfectly fine. So I think number 2 has actually won out. So we're going to use the Petal Pink and Calypso Coral combo. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get started. Now, I just need to stamp my image, which I put on my stamp positioner. So if you have a MISTI, you'll want to use it. Otherwise, you have to use the big block, F block, which I have a hard time handling. So I like my stamp positioner. And I'm going to stamp the image onto my Stampin' Up! Fluid 100 watercolor paper. Now, I just need to decide if I want it to be super light. This gray granite is a warm gray, and it's a little bit lighter. It has a little more brown tone to it. Smoky Slate is a cool gray, and I wouldn't really call it blue, but it's more of a true gray color. So it's a little brighter. So what do you guys think? Should I go with gray granite or Smoky Slate? And look how, man, I need to start cleaning up my supplies. I don't know what I have on this, but it's all sticky and grimy. So what do you think? A, the warm gray, or B, the cool gray? It kind of sets the tone for your piece. Joan votes for Smoky. Now, while you guys are voting, I'm going to tell you some other things I have here. I have a roll of paper towels to, protect my surface and to blot off. I think I mentioned I have a cup of water. I've got some of my blocks, because I'm going to show you how I use those to watercolor. Let me get my brushes out here, get me set up. I'm actually going to take this white mat off and put some paper towels down. You don't have to, okay? I have a glass mat, but I want you to be able to see, so I want to make sure there's no glare, but I don't want my grid paper wet. So, anybody else have a preference? I hope I didn't miss any. So let me just rearrange my space a little bit here. And I think we will go with Smoky Slate. So I'm going to put this down. And I kind of know where it's going to stamp because I stamped it earlier. I need to move some things out of my way here. You don't like the colors very well? I'm sorry, Linda. I know you like really bright colors. And you could also, if you want the browns, you could use crumb cake. You could use the basic beige. And if you want a really light image, you'll want to stamp off first. Oh, I don't want that there. My other paper must have been a little bit bigger. Oh, you don't see them. I thought you said you don't like them. I'm sorry, Linda. You don't see them very well. So the Stays On might be a better color, or like when I show the embossing, that might be an easier thing for you to see. Sorry, I absolutely misread that. So I apologize. Okay, so I am going to, so that was Smoky Slate. You can see it's not as dark as the basic gray. And if you want no line, you're going to want to stamp off so that you can barely see the image. So let me pull this up here. I'm having a morning already, aren't I? So we're ready to move. So I'm going to actually do my light colors first. I'm going to grab my Petal Pink. Now, if you're really strong, you can squeeze these. Once they've been open and shut for a while, they have a little give, and you can watercolor right here in your ink pad lid. But I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to grab a block, and mine aren't very clean. I think this has glue or something on it, but we're going to make it work. So I just have, this is the E block. It's a big block. And I'm going to take this. Now you could do this on your glass mat. So you don't have to use your blocks. If you own the glass mat, you can do it right on your glass mat. And I'm going to press my ink pad down onto my block. So hopefully you can see that. And we're just going to take a little bit of water, and I'm just going to use, start with a small brush. So I'm going to take a little water, I'm going to dip it in here, and I'm going to put some water onto this, okay, and smear it around. So I'm just kind of thinning out that color. And then I'm going to wipe my brush off. So I've diluted it a little bit. If you have the re-inker, you could put a drop of re-inker, and it's very runny, and it's going to be very concentrated because it doesn't have the foam pad to kind of absorb it and spread it around. So you might want to use a little more water for if you're using the re-inker. But if you don't want to use your blocks, you can do it right here on your glass mat. Okay, so I'm just going to come down here and kind of show you what this color looks like. Okay, so that's Petal Pink. And if you want it thinned out a little bit more, okay, so I like to do one side with a lot of water, and then I leave one side that I'm not touching. And I'm just thinning that out. So there's our Petal Pink. Making sure I love this image. So I'm just gonna use some water and clean my brush a little bit. And then I'm gonna go in and start adding some color. Now you can heat this and make sure that the gray really soaked in if you want. But it will, if you touch it with your brush, it's going to activate, and it may smear a little. And I don't worry about staying in the line. Oh, I just colored the leaf. Don't worry about that. Oh my goodness. Let's see if I can lift it up a little bit. That's all right. I got talking and I forgot what I was coloring here. That's okay, because Pretty Peacock will cover that up. What I meant to color was this. I might have to get a smaller brush here. Was my little flower. When I did my other image, I started with the leaves, so don't mind me. And then as I need more color, I pull it from here over here to where I have the water. So I'm just going to start with a petal, and I am trying to stay in the lines a little bit because I don't want to touch that gray. Now, if you had embossed them, you can go over it and it won't hurt a thing. So I'm just spreading that. Surprised I didn't see any laughing emojis on there. You know, like I said, it's already been a morning, so mistakes are bound to happen. So I'm just kind of giving every petal this. Now, if you were truly watercoloring, you might know the rules. I don't follow watercoloring rules because I'm just making a card, and I personally am not worried about if I'm doing it perfect. But typically you would choose things away from the area where you just were, and if you have your paper really saturated, that's what you'll want to do while an area dries. But I'm not using, I'm not keeping it really wet. Now this has a little more water than, so you can see the gray it's spread a little bit. So I just like it because the color is so different. What do you guys think? Oh, am I in the screen here? So Petal Pink looks very different when you watercolor. And you'll see I'm going to add some Calypso Coral on top of this. So let's do the big flowers and then I'll switch my brush. And the reason why I like using the watercolor paper when I'm doing this versus the basic white is when I go back and add more color to these with water, it's going to smooth. And if you're using basic white, it just absorbs into the paper. And once you add too much water, the paper kind of pulls apart. So if you're really wanting to layer colors and smooth it out, you'll want to use the watercolor paper. But I have done it on the basic white. It's just not going to look smooth. It doesn't blend. Let's see. What do you think so far? Now I'm going to pick up a smaller brush. And something else you can do, if you see me dipping into the pad, I'm picking up a little more ink. Like you can barely see it here. And if you want this darker, you can pick up the full color from the ink pad like this. I know you can see me over there on the right hand side and come in. My brush doesn't want to let go of the color apparently. Thank you. So I'm going to do all this color, and then I'm going to come back in with some of the Calypso Coral. And I can keep adjusting it. Like I said, I do not do this perfect at all, but I like the results. I like I think watercolors can can look messy and free. And I like that. So if you don't like the kind of that blended look, it doesn't always follow the outline. You might not like this this form of adding color. All right. So, anybody have any questions? Make sure I answer. Now, I'm just going to turn my block around and leave that pink on. Again, you can see from my pads that I do this. So you can use the lid. Let me show you the lid. So I'm going to come in with a little bigger brush. And this is why the water painters were nice, because they held the water for you. So I'm going to come in with this color, and let me show you what this looks like. I don't have enough water to move it. So this is Calypso Coral. Isn't it pretty? So if you want a stronger color, you just grab right from the ink pad. I love this. So we're going to take some of this. And I'm just going to go in here along the bottom of each petal and add some of this color. And this is what I want to show you. See how it just looks like there's this hard line that stops? I'm going to dip into my water and I'm going to move that color. And if you don't want it to come up as far, you can clean your brush, okay? And then just take some water and kind of lift it up. And then you can dab it with a paper towel. So that's why I said if you're doing no line, this is where the line would start to disappear. So I try to start small and then kind of work that color in. Again, I'm not a watercolor artist. This is just how I like to use my supplies. And I do love a watercolored look. Now I can clean my brush a little bit and pick up that Petal Pink. Kind of blend those together. And I am going over the line. I'm okay if it blends. And if it seems like it's not moving, just add a little more water. If you add too much, you can always dab it with a paper towel. What do you think? Do you guys have questions? I'll try to answer them, like I said. I'm just going in and quickly adding some of this color. I like to go back and kind of work it and smooth it out where I feel like it needs more color. So I'm going to let that one dry a little bit. I do want to come in and add some darker colors, but I'm going to come back and work on this with my Petal Pink. So do these colors look a little different than you were expecting, or like I said, I'm not a watercolor, so mine looks like a train wreck because I don't do each petal separate. I get impatient. It's not on purpose. It's just how I am. But I try. So remember, when you start overlapping your colors, your brush may pick up some of that color, so you want to clean it off and kind of come back in with the lighter color. Oops, I dripped a little water there. Joan, you are too kind. I don't know if I would put myself in the category of Bob Ross, but thank you for that compliment. I feel like I have muddy little petals, but I do enjoy this process. And so even though I am definitely not a trained artist, I definitely love doing this with my ink pads. Like I said, if you're investing in the colors, this is a great way to use those things and add color to your stamped images. Maybe you don't like coloring, but this I feel can be a little forgiving. And I feel like I can practice it, and when it's on the right paper, I feel like I can kind of correct myself by adding water and dabbing. Now, if I put too much water on, this gray is going to smear, and I don't want a muddy mess. So I'm trying not to let that happen. So I'm taking my Calypso Coral right off my ink pad, and I probably should have switched to the smaller brush, but that's okay. Okay. So I've let this dry a little bit. Oh, that one's still wet. I've let it dry a little bit. I have to have a happy accident. Well, Jenny, I think I have one of those just about every time I make a card. I don't know about you. I'm going to come back in with this, the Calypso Coral, and I'm just going to try to come around here and maybe add a little more definition. And I got it a little too dry, so I'm just going to add a little water because I don't want that hard line. Now, the good thing about watercolor paper is it's meant to take the water, so it's not going to pill and do things I don't want it to do. So I just want a little darker, so I'm going to have a little less water while I put this on, and I'm just kind of come in here and try to define some areas of my petal a little bit more, where I kind of lost them when my gray washed out here. Now I'm going to grab some of that Petal Pink. I just don't want a harsh line there. Joan, I think just practice. I just like to enjoy the process. Like I said, sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised with how something turns out. And sometimes I think, oh man, I could have done a better job, but Sometimes it's just kind of fun to see where it goes. Okay. And this won't hurt your ink pads, okay? This ink is water based, so it won't hurt your pad. I'm not putting anything in there that doesn't belong. And you'll notice when I want a little stronger color, I'm dipping right off of the ink pad. And you'll see some of it's bled out. That's okay. I'm okay with it. If you're not, you might want to take your time and be a little careful. I just feel like that's kind of the nature of watercoloring. I've seen some demonstrators that are wonderful at watercoloring. Mine does not turn out like theirs, but that's okay. You know what? I've learned to stop comparing myself to others and their abilities and their styles. So I want this to be lighter. Come in with some water. All right, what do you guys think? Did I do okay? Hey, Vicki, no worries. I know you have a busy day. No worries on that. Okay, now I'm going to bring in my leaf colors. This is my background. So I'm gonna, again, start off with my lighter color, and let me tell you about cleaning this. I am gonna wipe it with a baby wipe. I use unscented baby wipes for sensitive skin. So I am confident, been doing this for years, in cleaning my things with this. There's nothing harmful in this that's going to hurt your supplies. Or if you want to save that block because you've put ink on it because you want to color a whole bunch of them, just get out another one. Oh, mine seem to have glue on them, so that's okay. So there we have it. Now we're ready to go. Oh, thank you. I love baby wipes. They are a staple in my craft room. Ask anyone. I have lots of packs. Okay, so I'm going to, ooh, look at that Lost Lagoon. Now these colors may be easier to see. And let me go ahead and do this. So I already showed you how you could use your ink pad, but I'm gonna put my pretty peacock on this end. I'm gonna show you some things that you can do, okay? So we're exploring here. Now I am gonna grab my water painter just to squeeze some water on these because, oh, that has a, actually, I don't know what color that was, but we're gonna go with it. I think I used this one earlier, so it's either orange or it's already this color, but it'll be all right. So I'm going to grab, let me use that brush I was just using. So I just used some water to rinse this out and my paper towel to dab it. This is Pretty Peacock, okay? So I'm going to show you that color down here. Look at this color. Love it. I'll clean my brush. Because remember, I want to use my lighter color first. So these are, this is more blue. And this one has a little bit more green. I love these two colors together. So let me grab this. So you can see. Isn't it pretty? So I love these. This is a little more blue. This is a little more green, but I think they work well together. And let me show you something here. I can pull this up on my block and pull this down and mix them if I want. Okay, so you can create some maybe custom blends here if you want, okay? So I'm going to come in with my most diluted color to begin with. And I'm just going to, I might need my smaller brush. I'm just going to start adding some color. And if it's too dark, again, you can use the water to move it. But let me show you something else. Let me grab an extra towel here. When you have a lot of water, you can take your paper towel and blot it. And it's going to pull some of that ink up, okay? So you can blot as well if you get a little too much. I'll lay my blotter off to the side here. So let's go back in. Actually, I'm going to grab this. Nope, that's not smaller. Let me try. Let me see if this brush, ooh, look, it's new. Let's break it in. Let's break it in. I think this size might work a little better for me. So I buy these brushes in just packs. My kids like to paint. So I just have lots of them around. So I just went into their stash and took some. Now I am going to add Pretty Peacock into some of these. So I'm not worried about if my initial layer is perfect because I will come in and adjust them. Oops, I think I colored in between. That's supposed to be two separate ones, but I don't know. We made it one. Oops, grab the Pretty Peacock. I don't want that one yet. Oh, remember that leaf I accidentally painted Petal Pink? I don't know if that was supposed to be a leaf or not, but that's what we painted it as. And if you want it thinner, add some more water. So the more water you add, the lighter it's going to be. And it's not going to be really light because, well, it's a dark color. But you can thin it out. So let's get a little chatter going here. Have you guys been crafting this week? I know I personally have not been in my room that much. So I haven't really played as much. I've been working, when I have been in my room, I've been working on class kits and things that needed to go out the door. So I haven't really done a lot of creating except for on the days I've had lives. Okay. I just realized I didn't smooth those very well. That's okay. We can go back and do it again. I'm going to smooth that out. You're going to see where I'm going with that. You're probably thinking, why are you putting Lost Lagoon on your flower? I'll show you. So now let's pull some of this really pretty, pretty peacock in. Sorry, I was getting a phone call there for a second. So I'm just coming in kind of along where there would be a vein, and I'm adding the pretty peacock. Oops. I just saw my lights flicker. Please hold out. Okay. Oops. Don't wait. I usually have this way over, but I'm trying to keep everything in the screen for you guys. So try not to stick your projects on your block. So I'm just trying to make some maybe a little darker. And I'm going to come back in with that Lost Lagoon anyway and kind of blend it out a little bit. Okay. Aw, Maggie, that sounds so fun. I love it. My son likes to stamp too. When I first started collecting stamps, I only collected kids stamps because, well, I felt like I only made kids cards, and my sons like to play along, so they don't stamp so much anymore. Sometimes we have fun with it. Now I'm just trying to smooth some of those lines out. I don't want oops, a little too much. Might need to blot that one. I don't want a real hard line. You can leave it that way. I just kind of want that ink to kind of move. Hi, Bear. Bear has decided to join us. My leaves are getting messy here, but that's okay. Oops. Let's see. I think I've done most of them. Let me blot up that. I'm going to blot some of them. They're just really wet. Now, their attention span lasts long enough to make a cute beginning. That's okay. That's okay. It's a great habit to start young, that they understand. I know I didn't always make my boys do things, and but it's a great thing to kind of understand card making or arts and crafts and sending them. Vicky, you know how much Bear loves baths. So, no, he would not love that. Okay, I'm going to just stick this to the side for a minute, and I'm going to come in here. I'm going to pull some of this down in here. So here's my Petal Pink again. Remember I said, just trust me here for a minute. I added this green in here, and I just kind of want to, I'm just going to come back in and wet it. I wanted to see if it would create kind of a dark spot. This is a coloring technique, and I don't know if it works on watercolors. I'm going to be really honest. I'm just not, I'm proficient enough to be dangerous, I guess. But why not try? Ooh. Why not try? Just wanted to see what it would do. I don't know. Let me try some more of the Calypso Coral. Oh, that's so sweet, Maggie. I love getting kids into crafting. For our church, we used to do some cards, and that would be maybe some of their kind of a community service assignment was to send that card, you know, write the message and send the card. So I think that's great. You'd be surprised. My children, when they were off, they had to write letters home, and it's surprising how many people don't know how to do that, have not learned. So that's a great thing to do. So you can see I'm just coming in. I wanted to adjust my flowers a little bit, and they're dry, or they were dry, so I put all that water on there. So it's easy to kind of, not easy, I don't want to say easy, that might be the wrong word. You can adjust what you've done. And if you like the, you know, the harder lines, then you can leave it like that. Oh, I hear someone trotting across the floor. Sorry about that if you heard that commotion. One moment, I'm gonna stop the herd of elephants. Sorry about that if you heard all the elephants upstairs. My kids are playing, chasing each other back and forth, and by kids I mean one is grown. So okay, so there we have it. I don't know, what do you guys think? And I could keep playing with this all day. I guess it depends on when you say enough is enough. I do. I have a hard time saying when enough is. If you can't tell. So I just blotted it a little bit. Aw, thank you. So I don't know how perfect it came out, but I like it. And I think in the end, when you're playing and you're practicing, that's what matters most, right? Hey, Dad, good morning. So I'm wiping all of this off. Yes, I had a lot of ink on there. You don't have to put as much. I'm doing a little bit more than I normally would, just because I want to be sure you guys can see it on the video. Oh, thank you, Christy. Thanks, Linda. Thanks, Maggie. Thanks, Vicki. Thank you all so much for your beautiful comments. So now I'm going to do around my flower. So if you don't want, if this is wet because you've been doing your leaves, and my leaves didn't come out exactly how I wanted, but I think they're okay. I want to do around my image, but I don't necessarily want it to be really wet. So you can use your dryer, okay? We have a heat tool, you can use that. I'm just gonna fan it a little bit. I don't know if there's a proper way to do it, but this is what I do. Now, I am going to cut this down for a card front. So I'm gonna cut this piece off and I'm gonna trim it so that it fits on a card front. And I want to use some of this Pool Party because I don't want it to just be a white background. Thank you, Joan. Appreciate that. You guys really know how to make someone feel good when they're not sure, you know? I thought about die cutting it, Vicki, but I'm going to leave it as a panel. If you know, if you're a beginner, you can still do this. You just need a little more colors, but like I said, you could do the route of buying the re-inkers and just using the uninked spots and buying just the colors. I didn't have to use 2 colors on this. I could have just used Calypso Coral. I could have just used Lost Lagoon. You don't have to mix colors. You don't have to do that. But if you are not to the die cutting, maybe you haven't collected a cut and emboss machine and you're not there yet, you may not be able to die cut it. You could cut around it with scissors, but I am just going to leave it kind of like the beginner level. Let's see. And I'm going to grab my re-inker. My pad's a little dry. I've been using it to sponge. So here's my Pool Party. So this is a re-inker. And you can just do a little drop right in your lid. It's not going to hurt anything because it goes on your pad. So, and then you can thin it out. See how it's very concentrated? Then you just, and I am going to want a smaller brush, but you just thin it out. So it looks a little different than, you know, the color when you stamp. That's okay. So here's my background color. This is Pool Party. Okay. One moment, please. Check something here. Just sending my husband a message because he is texting me, so sorry about that. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to go around this image, and if I had embossed it or been a little more careful or done it on in StazOn, those lines would be very defined, but I've kind of just left them be messy, which is kind of my style. So I'm going to pick this up and I'm just going to start adding it in around the image. And it's very dark. If you want it lighter, add more water. And I use the re-inker, so it's going to be kind of dark in the beginning. So I'm just adding that in. And I do want it to be lighter, so I'm going to come in with some more water. Try to thin that out a little bit. See how light it is over here, where I used more water than it is right here. And I may blot some of it off, so I'm not too worried. I just like to get it on there. I'm trying not to go over where I already watercolored. And to get that to move, I am putting water where I want my ink to go. So that's, I guess, something that you wet your paper, and that's where the ink will go, and it won't go anywhere else. So if you've dried this other parts, and then you add water here, it's not going to move to where you do not have the water if you're worried about it kind of going everywhere. Now, if I go over top of it and I touch it, then it will blend. So I'm adding some water on here, and I'm grabbing my color, just kind of letting it go. I really like to create watercolor backgrounds. I don't know, backgrounds are kind of my thing. That's what I like. So I like this technique. You saw me put a ton of water on there. I'm just moving that color. Yeah. Good morning, Larissa. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, I think when you get toward the middle, it is, it is going to be a little darker. So it's up to you how you leave it and where you want the darks and the lights. You may want a little bit more here and there. I need to do a little bit more over here. I don't have as much water on this, so it's not moving like it would if it was really wet. So if you wet this area, you can move the ink a little bit better. So when you put the ink on, it just kind of goes. I actually love doing this on a canvas. You can buy those little canvas boards, and I love doing this. So I don't know where it's going to cut off here, but we're just going to keep on going. And you can leave white space. That's perfectly okay. And if you want darker, remember you can dip right into your pad and pull that ink and then put it where you want. And And it is kind of going into my flowers a little bit. Like I said, I'm a messy watercolor crafter. So there's my background. I'm going to close that. And some of this I do want to smooth a little bit. I don't want those lines there. And then now, there we go. I'm going to kind of blot it. You don't have to. It's just trying to pick up anything that might be bleeding into each other. There we go. So I just kind of went around the image with that pool party. It matches your living room. Is that a hint, Vicki? That you could do this whole sheet. You could stamp lots of little bits and create a piece to be framed. So that's an option for sure. Now I will tell you, when this dries, we've put a lot of water on this. So I don't know if you can tell, but your paper can get really kind of bent and curled. So I like to let it dry, and then you're going to want to use a very strong adhesive to put it on your card base. So I use either liquid, the Stampin' Seal Plus, or tear and tape. Now Stampin' Seal Plus and tear and tape are not forgiving. So once it's down, it's down. Now I'm going to cut this and we're going to make a card. So let's finish up. I'm going to grab 3 card base colors and we'll see which one we want. Because for whatever reason, I did not grab these. I didn't grab these ahead of time, so. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I ended up grabbing 4. And I had a little visitor to my craft room, so. Okay, so the colors in this are, actually I grabbed Peach Pie. That's not the color I wanted. I meant to grab Petal Pink. Here, we'll grab my scrap. I probably wouldn't pick Petal Pink. As you can see, this image doesn't even look like I used Petal Pink. I did, and there's definitely lighter spots, but it doesn't quite look like Petal Pink because it's different when you watercolor with it. So let me move this before I end up getting my cardstock wet. We could have a Calypso Coral card. And this doesn't have a bright white color. It's more of in between the basic white and the very vanilla. Here's Petal Pink. Lost Lagoon, which this is the color I would probably pick. Simply because I feel like it allows that Calypso Coral to kind of just pop. And then we have Pretty Peacock. So what colors are you leaning toward? Are you leaning toward the teals we used or the orangey pinks? So teals or the pinks. And then I'm going to cut this down while we're deciding into my card layer size. and it's still a little wet, but now I'm not being exact here. I'm not measuring anything exact. I'm just trimming off what I don't need at first. So I know this image is going to be too big. Let's see, this is 5. Let's do that. That's 5. Now I need to make it by 4. Or, maybe we should make a 5x7 card. Because this is 5. And this is 5. So this is 5x5. You're right, it is pretty. We could frame it. Let me see. I just don't know if I want to cut any of it off. I think it's the direction I stamped it. I don't know. Just, normally I can get it to fit on a full thing, but not today. You guys think teals? Okay. A lot of votes for teals. And, I'm thinking I'm going to make a really large card. What do you guys think? Let me see. So I need a 10x7 piece. So I'm going to give you a visual here with my trimmer, hopefully. So if I had a 7-inch card base, it would look like this. And we would have this in the middle. Who wants to make an extra large card? Raise your hand. Oh, dog duty, Jenny. That's okay. Understandable. We're just going to finish up and create our card. Yes, it is very rare that I make large cards, but every once in a while, it's really fun to make a different size. Ooh, you could do that. You could cut it in strips and then kind of space them a little bit like they're little panels. So we're going to pick a teal. And we're going to make a 5x7 card. Now, something like this, you could die cut. I know it will fit on a standard size card, but I don't want to chop anything off. So you could keep, cutting away and making it smaller, but I really just, I just want to leave my full image. I like it like this. So, lots of options here. So let's choose which teal we want. You could also use Pool Party. Okay, I'm not going to pull that one in. I want to use either the medium color or the dark. But you could pull in Pool Party. So if you only have Pool Party, that color would work too. I'll show it to you really quick just so you can see. But we are not going to choose that color. Okay, so here's Pool Party. Okay. Ooh, that's a good idea. So Vicki said, if you cut this into panels, you could put every other one on dimensionals so that it gives a bit of variety. So let's see. I see 2 dark, votes, a light vote. Let me see if anyone else voted, and I don't want to miss anybody. So, you know what reminds me, if you did this in, cut it in strips, a lot of times, have you guys seen those painted fences? And they're always gorgeous. That would be a really cool effect. So that's a good idea. I might have to try that. Okay, I see a lot of votes for dark. So again, either one would work. And we're going to, so this is going to be cut at 7. Okay. This is the 8.5 inch side. So I've got a little strip there for something else. And then I'm going to turn this and I'm going to cut it at 10. So the 11 inch side gets cut at 10. And then we're going to score it at 5. So get that cutting blade out of the way. Score it at 5. Oh my goodness, I don't think I've ever made a 5x7 card. I'm going to use my bone folder here. So look, isn't this beautiful? Now, I am going to trim this a little bit more because I made it 5x5 and I want it to have an edge. So let me think here. You don't have to. It could be like this. I could go all the way to the edge, but I want a little color to show. So I'm trying to think which direction I'm putting it on my card. Am I putting it this way? I think I kind of like it this way, and I'm going to stamp a greeting down here. And so I think I'm going to trim it this way. So I'm going to trim a little bit off. Let's see what 4 1/4. So this is 4 3/4. And I'm not going to trim it this way. So that lets a little bit show like that. But I think I'm going to trim a little off from this side. Let's see. I don't want to trim too much. I don't want to lose my flowers. I'm just going to scoot it over a little bit. I'm eyeballing it. I didn't want my flower to come off. So it's not quite to 4 1/2. There we go. Ooh, torn edge would be good too. So I just eyeballed it. It's not quite 4 1/2. And then this way is still 5. Now remember, this paper is 5x7. So I could have cut it to be a layer on this before I even started. But remember, I watercolored and I was showing you things on the bottom. So I wanted to get rid of that. And I'm going to stamp a greeting right down here. And then we're going to use some strong adhesive to tack it down. And that's going to be our simple card that we've watercolored. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. And you'll give it a try. Now I am going to bring in my stamp positioner because I don't trust myself to stamp the words. So let me pull it in here. I'm going to put this in here and hold it down. Do not want it to move. Now, some of the sayings on this are, you make my heart smile, grateful for you, God bless. It's an anniversary set. You could also pull in any of your favorite greetings. This simply said I've used a ton. So you need something that's kind of thin that goes along the bottom. So if you wanted to make a large birthday card, you could. Okay. I actually want to stamp this, you make my heart smile. And I don't know, I've just been really liking that phrase lately. But you could stamp with anything. I'm going to have to pull this down. And pull this down because it doesn't want to stay flat. I want this to be flat here. And I have a magnet that broke somewhere. I have an extra one. So I'm going to put this up here and then one on each corner. And I'm going to stamp right down here along the bottom. Oh, thank you, Linda. You're very welcome. I am happy to share. And let's see, I'm debating stamping in Pretty Peacock or the gray. So there's a lot of the teals and the Pretty Peacock and the Lost Lagoon on here. So I don't necessarily want it to get lost, but I want it to be pretty subtle. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? You could also stamp it in Calypso Coral. That would be good too if you want it to have a little more attention. So let's see. What color do you think? So I've got my neutral. Oh, I should sign it or initial it. That would be good, wouldn't it? Now, the reason why I'm stamping, let me say this. I'm stamping my greeting last, and you want to make sure this is dry. So this is dry right here. Because when I stamp my words, and I have made this mistake, when I stamp my words, I want to make sure this is not wet at all, because they will spread. Remember, this is water-based ink. So if this is wet, my words are just going to start spreading out onto my piece. So you want to make sure it's dry. So if you don't want to do this until you're all done adjusting your image and it's dry. Okay? You guys have any thoughts on how you want this to look? And while you're thinking, I'm going to grab a piece of Very Vanilla so that I can cut it down for the inside. So I'm just cutting this down. I'm cutting it over here on my chair off to the side. I'm going to cut it to 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. So this is going to go on the inside like this. Now you can stamp it and put a little image on the bottom if you want. Maybe we'll do that, and I'll just leave it uncolored. Oh, thank you, Joan. So no, am I frozen? Oh, I am. All right, I lost, oh, my internet paused. So sorry about that. No votes on ink. Actually, I'm just going to choose. I don't know if my internet cut out, if you guys even heard my question, but I'm just going to go with this. So you could pick any of those colors, any colors really. You just want to make sure whatever you're picking, your watercolor paper is dry. So there we go. I think it's straight. If it's not, it's a watercolored piece, right? It'll be okay. Oop. My magnet was preventing this from making contact. There we go. Stamp that part again. There we go. Now, well, thank you all for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to move this really quick and we're going to stamp that flower image. I'm trying to think of how I want to stamp it. This is going to be along the bottom. Maybe. Let's see how I want it. And I'm going to use the Smoky Slate. And I'm not coloring this. You could create a watercolor piece right for the inside as well. I'm just gonna let it just be an image on the inside of my card. There we go. So we have this piece for the front, and see, this is very vanilla. It goes very well with this. You could still use white if you wanted. Again, you'll want a strong adhesive. So I'm just going to use some liquid glue. And you do kind of want to get it toward the edge. I didn't get it all the way, but oops. And this is why I use liquid. I don't ever seem to lay it down straight the first time. Now this dried pretty quick. I didn't get my piece really really wet, so it did dry pretty quick. Again, you'll want to make sure it's dry before you stamp those words or they will spread. Now I actually have envelopes that I have bought before to make 5x7 cards. I've just never made the cards. So there is our piece. It's so beautiful. It's ready to write your message, your uplifting message to the recipient. And then here is our front. Now, I will tell you, sometimes I've cleaned my block. This one needs a little help adhering down. And I will take two clean. This isn't quite so clean, but we're going to use it anyway. And I let the block sit on it to hold it down. See if I can find my envelopes. Oh, there they are. So I just buy these, you know, at the store. Stampin' Up! Does not make this size envelope. Sorry, I have two spots. So I just have white, but you can buy fun colors online. So this is for a 5x7 card. There we go. And there's the inside. And it's ready to go. Now this is a little bit bigger, but that's okay. It'll mail just fine. So thank you all for stopping in and hanging out with me. Oh, let me show you 2 Easter cards that I received. I don't know if I showed this the last time. Isn't this cute? And then here's, and it's not all Stampin' Up, but that's okay. Some fun things. I think this was an old Stampin' Up die. And then remember these little characters from the new storybook moments. So, and aren't they cute? I love it. So I wanted to share those if I hadn't. I love getting cards, so it's always fun to see how someone else creates. All right, thank you guys. Do you have any questions for me? If you need to get any inks or the watercolor paper or any of those supplies, you can grab them in my online store at bethroy.stampinup.net. Thank you all. Have a beautiful day, and thanks for spending part of it with me. Take care.